Welcome, accelerators. Hope you're killing it today, Wednesday, January 31st. And business for me, it's challenging, but I'm getting out there. Just booked a trip to Colorado to go see one of my favorite business mentors. If you're in the Colorado area, I'm going to be driving west, Boulder, then off to Grand Junction and circling back. So if you're in that area, comment below. Would love to connect for a coffee if it works. And regardless, big shout out to all entrepreneurs in Colorado. And yeah, I'll also be going through Seattle as well. So probably won't have any time to meet with anybody there, but really looking forward to that trip. Planning to see one or two customers, family, and have a great business meeting with about 10, 12 other business owners. All right, diving right into it. What podcast would you recommend listening to for service based business? So my favorite podcasts are ones that inspire me and really kind of like move the needle for me. So I like Masters of Scale. It's a great podcast, a little bit too focused on tech and scaling for SaaS businesses, but really any organization can learn from some of the things that Reid Hoffman really dives into on that podcast. So really recommend Masters of Scale. It's really one that I enjoy. How I Built This as well is a great podcast. It's produced by NPR. Some people might not be into NPR, but I'm a fan of definitely the host of the podcast and what he gets into on how he built it, right? Because it's one thing to interview a billionaire, Elon Musk, people like that, but really how people built it from the beginning is really a great story that I'm always interested in as well, right? One of the ones, somebody I know personally, marketing school, definitely I would take everything they say with a grain of salt. Some good digital marketing people there. They have some quick sound bites. I wouldn't buy anything they're selling, but if you want to buy from them, that's okay. But really, they're really big on the social media front, web SEO, and what's happening, right? So if there's a new competitor to TikTok, YouTube, they're going to be on it, testing it out for you, and can really kind of guide you through some of that marketing stuff. Diving deeper, HBR, Harvard Business Review Idea Cast, good podcast. A little bit more big business, but it's always good to get a mix of things from lots of different people. I've got a local podcast, give it a plug as well, Business Vancouver Island. I'm interviewing entrepreneurs that are really in my local area. So love the people that I interview there and what we're doing, kind of more about place and how people grew their business and how they're continuing to deal with the obstacles, challenges that we have locally there. Hope that's helpful on your kind of search for good listening podcasts as you're doing your commute or exercising as well. So, all right, next question. This one comes from Dimitri Tukes. I want to pronounce it correctly. What relationships and where should I network in order to grow my mold inspection business? All right. So, how should I network in order to grow any business? Now, this question was about mold inspection. And I'm like, oh man, mold inspection. What? Like, who wants to know about that business? Who wants to network with somebody who's into mold? And, you know, to me, it really is possibly new homeowners or realtors, people who are into home inspections, institutional places, looking at big companies that rent out multiple apartments. They might have complaints about mold. So really that specialty niche is a hard one to reach out to. Realtors are a dime a dozen, but top 10 realtors in your community are super hard to find. But if you can go to your local real estate board and ask, who are your top 10 realtors? Connect with them on LinkedIn, see which events they're going to, how they're networking, and really just don't chase them down, but try and get to the same events those top 10 are getting to, right? Because it's not necessarily that you'll speak to them at every event, but you'll get to know them a little bit, but also the top 20% realtors, right? Same with home inspectors. If there's an association, find that association, say, what events do your members attend? Do you have anything coming up? Think about Sponsoring a smaller event. Don't think about sponsoring a big event, but if they have like a weekly breakfast meeting, say, "Hey, do you guys need a sponsor for that?" And they might be like, "No, we don't have a sponsor for that." Yeah, let me pay for coffees for everybody there, and I can go do it. You don't even need to facilitate. So make an offer to help the association out. Really can help you kind of get in the door. And networking at these events is super hard, but one of the ways I like to do it is go to the event organizer and say, "Hey, do you mind if we do a picture? I'd love to give you a shout out on social media." So when you're giving an ask, it's easier to get more things from somebody to be more involved in the future and get them to help you in your business if they give you something. And them taking the time to do a picture to post up on social media is a give for them, right? So you're actually going to build your network, have somebody who's more willing to give you something in the future if you ask for something like that. But you also give them a shout out. So you get to promote them. You can tag them. So learn how to do the at symbol and tag people. So look for people who are doing shout outs publicly and tag people. Because if you can tag 3 to 4 people, 10 people, 20 people might see that online. If you're doing it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm not sure if you tag people on TikTok, but I'm learning TikTok here pretty soon. So definitely kind of take those key takeaways, find out who the top players are, see if there's an association, get to the events, and take a picture thanking them for organize the event, celebrate it on social media, and tag people. All right. What are some of the different ways I should go marketing and get a new business? So, huge question. What are this some of the different ways I should go about marketing and get a new business? So, marketing is different from getting new business, in my personal opinion. Marketing is getting your name out there and a positive association with your name out there in the market. Actually, getting the business is different. You are actually trying to convert your marketing into leads and then convert them into customers. So, getting that new business. So, multi step approach, but the marketing, getting your brand out there, definitely choose a social media platform that you like. Maybe starting with Facebook, Instagram, whichever one you like, and learn that one, right? So use that to kind of get your name out there. Do some reels. So short videos. I'm going to take this video, cut it up into reels, right? So if you're thinking about marketing, what are you doing already that can be recreated, repackaged, and turned into marketing materials? If you have to sit down and custom do something, even use AI, it's not going to be easy. But if you're already doing a speaking event, if you're already doing a live stream, if you're already going to an event, awesome opportunities to create content which you can use for your marketing. So think about what you're doing already that could be used for marketing. And it could be just inviting an intern around to videotape you going to speak to prospective customers, you speaking to your current customers. Capture you doing what you're already doing and repackaging that is a great opportunity in marketing to create reels, photos, images, all original content that people are interested in. Because if you're using stock images in marketing or repurposing other people's stuff, it's not sustainable in the long term. But think about what you're doing that could be used to create images and videos for your website and for social media. Huge bang for your buck if you can get somebody to follow you around who's good with capturing images and repackaging them. Look for, social media students, put up a posting for an internship and see if you can find that hidden gem that'll help you with your marketing. I think is a good way to get your name out there and market. And then new business is a whole nother ball game. The difference between marketing and getting new business can be a huge gap for some people. Definitely make it easy for them to contact you in your marketing is going to be key. So I would always use text messaging as an option, email, and regular phone number. Give people the options on how they want to contact you. So it can be easy. And I know people don't want to have their cell phone kind of listed everywhere in their marketing because, get calls in the middle of the night. Who knows what will happen? You can always add a digital phone number that can forward at certain times of the day to your cell phone or can text message you to email, and you can reply within your emails just so it doesn't interrupt you quite as much. So if you're not willing to have a separate phone number, actually check to your cell provider. They might be able to give you a second phone number, but at the very least, go to an organization like VoIP MS. Lots of digital SMS telephone providers that can give you a second number you can just use in your marketing. And then you can actually find out which marketing is working as you scale. So you can use one cell phone number in your LinkedIn advertising. You can use one in your Facebook advertising, your Instagram, and your print advertising. If you're trying to give out flyers, right? If you know there's a certain part of the community where houses of a certain age, in this case, you're asking about how to bring in business as a construction business and servicing related to mold, you can do a print flyer or print handouts and do it just for that community. And if you want to see if that medium is working, use a unique phone number. It can be less than 69 cents for a phone number these days, depending on what provider you choose. And you can see who is responding to which marketing medium to get your business, because you really want to figure out who actually converts, right? So if you're getting lots of impressions on social media, it doesn't mean they're converting into clients. But if somebody is text messaging you, calling you, you can know what medium they're coming from if you have unique phone numbers. I super hope that's helpful. It is not easy to take on the issue of finding new business and doing marketing in one question. So, how do I know how much money to put into advertising and marketing without overspending and going into debt to do so? Great question. I interviewed a great entrepreneur on how he grew his business, bootstrapping it with no debt, and he's well into, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 figures, right? Like he's well over the, I think, the $10 million mark at this point, right? So how can you bootstrap and get a business to grow without spending too much money on marketing? Number one thing is measure the marketing dollars and get rid of the ones that don't work. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Google AdWords and Facebook advertising. It hasn't worked. SEO has worked for me because I know when people come to our website, fill out our forms, we've got a path that marks how they get there, right? So test out your marketing. Think about spending as you scale your business. If you have, $20,000 in profits, or even $1,000 in profits after paying yourself, think about putting at least 20% of that into some marketing. And if you're paying yourself 5,000 bucks a month or $2,000 a month, and you've got an extra 1,000 left over or an extra 10,000 left over, think about spending that $100 on marketing, right? As you grow, you might want to reinvest at a much higher rate into marketing, and make some decisions to spend higher. But after you pay yourself first, and then thinking about really scaling up your budget for marketing and test it out, right? So I wouldn't go into debt over marketing unless you're seeing a huge increase and you know when you're going to really get profitable based on it, right? So I like that 10-20% rule into marketing after you pay yourself. And then when you're super profitable and you're paying out all your other expenses, you might want to start budgeting 10% of your revenue or 20%, depending on what niche you're in, right? And I would say start figuring out what works, what visuals, what videos, what reels work, and then thinking about investing that, right? So you can always do a free network just on social media, your local social media. Definitely do put some permission based advertising. Ask people, hey, can you follow me on Instagram? Can you follow me on LinkedIn? Not your friends, but your customers, right? Because you want to see what resonates with your customers, the people who buy from you, what resonates with them. So really permission based, invite them to follow you, ask them to ask them if you can send an invite to follow. One of the things you can also do is if you start spending on meta platforms, Instagram, Facebook, you can see who likes your post, and then you can specifically ask them to follow, especially if you think they're a target customer. All right. Next question. Demarius has a list of realtors that he can text. How should I approach them to let them know about my new business without trying to sell them something? Number one thing I'd always say is buy people a coffee if you've got a budget, right? Coffees are super expensive these days, but an alternative would be, hey, can I come by your office and meet you? The problem is with realtors, a lot of them don't go into their regular office anymore. So they're going to probably want to meet you at a place that's expensive to buy coffee. But if you can make that investment, do. If not, say, hey, when are you going to your office next? Can I bring a coffee by and ask you a few questions about what's happening for you this year if you're getting lots of listings, and what you're thinking is going to happen in the market. It's a tough time for some realtors with interest rates where they are, right? So I wouldn't ask them to promote your business. Say, hey, I'm thinking about doing some more promotion on Facebook and stuff, and I'd like to be able to tag you in some posts. Can I use your name in that? Right. So some ways to really give back to them, but also open the door to then talking about your business, right? So ask some good questions when you're with them. Just get 3 good questions that you think are gonna resonate with a realtor at this stage in the economy and where they're at, right? So if it's a new realtor, doesn't have many listings, I don't know if you want to be investing a lot of money in coffee, but if it's a established realtor, say, "Hey, I'm just stopping by Starbucks and I'm heading by your office. Can I bring you a coffee?" They might say, "No, not today, but maybe tomorrow." Or, "I'm going to have an open house. Come by there. Bring me a coffee there. That would be great." So meet them where they're at, and then really find out what their needs are, what they're working on. Not so you can service them, but then once you're interested in them, they'll be interested in you and ask you what's new with business with you. And if they don't ask at the end of your conversation, well, awesome. It was great to chat with you again. Hey, just want to let you know I started this new business. Here's what it is. Can I leave this with you? Or can I follow up with you about it later on? Right. So definitely worthwhile building that network, but be careful in this economy because some realtors don't have a lot of business right now. Other ones I know are killing it. So what's the ratio percent of revenue to net profit for each business should I be aiming for? Really tough to tell. So in the headhunting recruitment business, there's really high margins for direct placement. So if you say to me, "Hey, Kale, I need you to hire me a general manager or an operations manager or an accountant," um, I'll charge you probably around 25% of their estimated annual salary. If it's $100,000 per year role, it's going to be a $25,000 fee. We do charge a little bit more for most of our roles, but some of them come in around 25%. So that's a very high margin business. Where temporary staffing, so that's if you say you need 10 people for a construction project and you need a carpenter, HVAC, you need uh, a project manager, and it's just for 2 weeks. Kale, can you get me these people? I can say, yeah, I can get you those people. But if it's a longer term project and we're doing more transaction with you, we'll likely be forced into lower margins. In that temporary staffing business, it's about 4 to 5% margins that people get after everything, right? So you need to look at the market, find out how other people are pricing things, and figure out the most profit you can make while providing the amount of value. So asking around, don't just ask the small businesses, ask the big businesses what they're paying. And if you get to know somebody who's a mentor or get some trust with people, just saying, "Hey, do you mind sharing with me kind of what your net profit is or what margins you're working with? I'd love to be able to learn more because I'm growing my business." Some people will say hell no, but some good people who are, well established, they'll be like, "Yeah, I could share that with you." Right? Especially if you're somebody who shares things with other people, right? So I can't tell you for your business. I'm hoping at least 5%. But if you're in a really good business, you're running it well, 20% is a great profit margin. But as you get much higher, then there's more competition as well. So, all right. Next question is, what system do you use or still use to manage your time and stay focused as it relates to getting things done and time management? Huge question for entrepreneurs, especially the ones who have the shiny penny syndrome. So me, I have like 6 businesses going. Most of them are not making money. One of them is. And I've got lots of hopes for the other ones, but really I should be concentrating a lot of my time and productivity on the one business where I know If I bring in a new customer, the lifetime value of the customer is over 100 grand. I know I can have a huge impact for them, and we can pay our bills and overhead and still have something to reinvest in the business. But I have a huge but I have a huge hard I have a very hard time making sure my time management is going well. The number one I think the number one way I keep focused for my time management is in the morning, say, what's my most important daily outcome? So this comes from getting things done. What is my most important daily outcome? So some days it's going to be talking to a really important customer or getting back to a new customer. Some days it's actually going to be something outside of work. So I always have a top 3. There's the one top thing I'm gonna try and get done no matter what, and sometimes yesterday, that was my wife, being there for her. I was here in the office, we went out, spent some time together, and I ended up having to do some work in the evening. That's my most important daily outcome, and writing it down when somebody important to you is having a tough time can be really, really important. But you're also gonna try and get 2 to 3 other things done in the day, and that might be growing my business is super important, so I want to make 3 sales calls or 1 sales call to a top customer, or I'm gonna do the research for the call, and tomorrow I'm gonna call them. Don't put too many things off till tomorrow. Make sure you're taking those steps every single day to get to those most important things or your goals that you're working with as well, right? So write that down in the morning, and then if you can get that scheduled in your calendar, whether you're using a day timer, I definitely like writing in a journal and planning my day that way. But definitely, you can use some of the new tools. Had a good friend; they turned me on to uh, Motion AI, which is a scheduling tool for Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. I haven't had a great experience with it, so I'm deleting it. I'm just using my Google Calendar to place things in there, and you can move things around really nicely on your phone if you have to. So really using that calendar, if it's important, it should be in there every single day, right? So if you need to give a shout out to one of your employees to keep your culture, your morale high, schedule it every single day. It's like shout out to an employee and to keep track, right? So every day you're not going to get to it, but if you can put it up on a whiteboard, Monday, I gave a shout out to Stu. Tuesday, I gave it a shout out to Kelly. I missed Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, I gave a shout out to the 5 team members who completed a project. All right. So for some people, that's going to be a social media or a group chat shout out. Sometimes it's going to be individual, depending on what the person wants, right? But really important if you're getting focused on time management is saying what's the most important thing I'm going to do every day and what are my goals for the week and putting those in your calendar. If something's important to you, it's in your calendar. Picking up my kids from school are super important. So I put it in my calendar, not just so I don't forget it. So I remind myself what's important to me every week. Kids are first, families first. My business is second. All right. That's taken me a long time. I know this business will come and go. I've been in business for almost 20 years with this one business, but I can always start another business. Family is the most important for me as well. All right. Next question is from Kelly. How crucial is it to level up our wardrobe to match as we level up? Super important question. Something I've thought about for over 25 years as a professional, 30 years, but in the last 20 years in business, it's come and gone a little bit, right? So right now, all my team is remote. Some are in the same city, but the rest of them are remote. I rarely go see customers, but I have invested in some things that are perfect for my customer base. I deal with a lot of blue collar companies. Some of our customers are as big as Pepsi. Some of them are the biggest mining companies of the world. I don't usually meet with the CEOs and CFOs. I usually meet with the plant managers, the mine managers who might be responsible for $10 million a year in production or 5 billion a year in production. But they will often wear jeans, a nice pair of jeans, a nice pair of boots, a nice collared shirt. So I'm always wearing a collared shirt at the minimum. Definitely invest in nice clothes. It makes you feel good to put them on. I wear icebreaker merino wool. Uh, sometimes, sometimes these shirts wear out. I don't spend over $100 on a shirt. Some people do, right? I wouldn't invest crazily, but dress in nice clothes. Invest in something that makes you feel comfortable, but also fits with your target customer as well, right? You don't want to be too fancy, right? So if you go to a business meeting where everybody's wearing kind of business casual, which might be a collared shirt and some nice slacks, jeans on Friday, you don't want to be showing up there in a suit. I've showed up there in a suit to some business meetings where I misjudged the target customer. It was a foreign company that had moved in to do business locally, and I wore a suit. I'm never going to make that mistake again, but it's worth, it's worth getting out there and trying, right? You could say, oh, I'm going off to see another customer in a little bit. Looks like I overdressed for this meeting. And at least they'll laugh with you or at you at your expense. So being humble, I think, is important. But invest in great footwear. I've got a custom pair of boots that one of my customers, he says, hey, you going motorbiking? He knows I don't motorbike. He's a big motorbiker, but it's a local boot manufacturer I'm a huge fan of. So I do wear those to a lot of business meetings. It gives me a little bit of extra height. I'm only 5'9", and if you're running for president or doing sales, the taller you are, it really helps. So don't be afraid to get a pair of good cowboy boots if you're in a market where you can wear something like that and you're a little bit shorter. So dress for success, spend the money, but just do kind of like that 10% better. You don't need to spend thousands on clothes, but definitely get in a nice shirt, get in some nice clothes. So invest a little bit, but not too much as well. And don't worry about if you're wearing jeans and you're in the construction business. Stick with your jeans. Just make sure they're nice and in good shape. That reminds me, I got to get a new set of couple pairs of jeans. All right. How do we create a great company culture? So this question comes from Kelly. One of the most important things I've ever done to create a great company culture, and I don't do it currently because we do remote work, is a weekly barbecue. But even if you're doing remote, a great company culture can break and share food together by at least buying some food for your team. So buying some gift cards, sending them out at Christmas. If you can do it on a more regular basis, once a month or once a week, depending on your budget, feeding people is great. I remember one of my top employees said her husband was mad as heck every time she got a free lunch from us, even though I often barbecued it myself, right? But we just invested what we had. If you've got a budget to cook, have somebody on your team cook, people are usually pretty happy to get involved and roll up their sleeves and cook. If not, bring a food truck and pay for it if you can. Sometimes for tax purposes, you'll get dinged if you're buying people lunch all the time, but really make that investment on an ad hoc basis to break bread with your team. Another big thing is shout outs, and try and create a culture where other people are doing shout outs. I really appreciate this question because it reminds me we're not doing shout outs enough with our team about how people are helping them out, because really helping people out really makes a difference in servicing your customers, right? So doing those shout outs either on social media and or in person make a big difference, and finding out what people like as well, right? If they are a little bit private and don't want people to know, then that's a preference. You can always just take them aside or give them a quick call on a Friday and say thanks so much. But if you can give them a public shout out, it's like, oh, great. Somebody else twigs this. Oh, when that other coworker went the extra mile, the owner of the company really appreciated it. Maybe I'll go the extra mile. And make sure that you've got a way of tracking it. So you're giving out your shout outs on a regular basis, because it really is important to people. Sometimes it's built up. Another thing that I've done for company culture, so three things. You've got food, you've got the shout outs, both public and or private. And finally is interviewing people on why they'd want to stay with your company or not. So, a lot of companies invest in exit interviews. When somebody quits, why did they leave? What I'm not a big fan of the exit interview. A stay interview. Why do you stay with this company? What makes you feel a part of it? What parts of our culture are important to you? Asking 3 questions is really important because people are like, oh, the owner of the business welcomes my opinion. Right. So if you can just put it in your calendar twice a year to say, okay, I'm going to ask my top 3 employees why they stay with the company, what improvements I can make, asking them what matters to them, what parts of the culture they enjoy, that can really give you insight and also is a give back to them, right? Because you're really caring what they think about the company and they'll start to take some ownership in that. So a stay interview is super important. Recommend them for any business owner. If you only have 1 employee or you've got 10 employees, asking those top 3 employees or top 10 employees why they stay with you in a stay interview is super important. I hope that's been helpful to you. Really appreciate your questions. Hope you're killing it this week, and I'll see you on the next one.